Hello everybody, today I'm going to be showing you how to make these really cool Harry Potter themed cushion covers. They're pretty cheap to make. All I had to do was buy a couple of cushion covers off Amazon for like £2.50 each, and then some fabric transfer paper and some fabric paint. It's a really easy DIY and it can be used for obviously any design. It does not have to be Harry Potter themed and it can be really personalised, so let's get going. So the first thing I've done was printed off my Ravenclaw logo onto a piece of fabric transfer paper, and then some other images that I wanted to use. I chose the letter that Lily wrote to Sirius that Harry found, 2 front pages from the Daily Prophet, a platform 9 3/4 ticket, and the envelope from Harry's acceptance letter. Then I printed off Mischief Managed onto normal paper in a Harry Potter style font. Next I cut out my fabric transfer pictures. I was suggesting scissors to do this and not cutting too close to the lines because it makes it easier to iron it on. The template for the ones that I've used will be available on my Pinterest page and there will be a link in the description. But if you make your own, make sure you remember to print them in reverse because once you iron them on they're going to show the reverse of whatever you print. The reason I chose all these little images, I don't think I've said yet, is because I want to make one of my cushions look a bit like a scrapbook, which is also why I've put the sellotape in the corner so it looks like I've kind of stuck it in. Right, next you're going to place your transfer paper image side down onto your cushion and then we're just going to iron it. You want to make sure that your iron is on full heat and you are moving it around evenly around the whole thing, covering all the edges and corners, and just really keep going at it to make sure your image is completely transferred. I put a piece of paper in the middle of my cushion just to make sure that the image didn't transfer onto the back. So after about 5 minutes of ironing, I really carefully peeled my transfer paper off, starting at the corner and doing it really slowly and gradually. And there's my image. Now with my scrapbook page, I had to really think about where I was going to place all these different images to make sure they all fit together. Once I was happy with my placement, I just ironed them on. Because it was going to be hard for me to iron here and not iron onto the image I'd already put on, I just used a piece of paper to lay over the top just to make sure I didn't mess up the bits I'd already done. Once again, making sure that I really did iron evenly around the whole thing, especially the corners, which are easy to miss. This is why I said to peel it back really slowly, because here one of the bits hadn't stuck down completely, but because I'd done it so slowly I was able to push it back down and re-iron it and save it. I added some patterned buttons afterwards just to make it look a bit more like a scrapbook, but that's entirely optional. Okay, so you need to get your Mischief Managed for this next design. There's a template to this on my Pinterest, and then you just want to cut the inside of all the letters out using an X-Acto knife. You can see what I've done on the G here. I've kind of left a little bit of extra paper just to hold on the middle bit like it does naturally on the A, and I've also done that on the E, so it's easier when it comes to printing it on. It's not too easy to explain that, but if you look at the picture you can see what I've done. So next I just got my black fabric paint and I put a piece of cardboard between the 2 layers of my cushion to make sure my design didn't print onto the back. Next I just got my first word template, which was Mischief, and I lined it up using the top of the cushion, which is obviously a straight line. And you can also use a little bit of tape maybe on the corners to hold it into place, but I just supported it with my arm. Next, I literally just used a cosmetic sponge and dabbed on my fabric paint onto my material. I suggest dabbing it on rather than painting it on to make sure that it doesn't spill out onto your template, onto your fabric, and will then obviously not stick between the lines. In hindsight, I'd probably suggest laying some of your fabric paint out onto a tray or even a piece of paper, just to make it easier to access while you're doing this. I varied how thickly I applied the paint, just to make it look a little bit faded in some places, which I quite like. Once it's completely dry, I just carefully peeled back the template. Next I just decided where I wanted my second word to go and followed the same process. so I added a pair of shoe prints at the bottom. I haven't got a template for these, but if you want one, just send me a message and I'll find you one. Afterwards I just went back and used an iron just to seal it all in with a piece of A4 plain paper over the top, and then just iron on all the designs, and it just seals it in. And then you are finished. And here are all 3 of my finished designs. I really love them. I'm really happy with how they all turned out. And they're so easy. They're just such a cool DIY to do. So I hope you enjoy them, and I will see you later.